Well, hello everybody. My name is Leon Minghui. This year I'm 11 years old, and for today's talk, we're going to be talking about function and its basic concepts, principles, and application in both real life and business. Also, we're going to be talking about its application in math too. So let's have a look at the definition of function. So function is simply understand in mathematics as a way to describe or to describe a set of things. That set could include numbers, letters, or anything. And there could be both infinite and usual function sets. So usually a set and function will basically look like this. Well, the numbers or letters or everything is usually contained in these brackets. And we could divide those following numbers or concepts by this comma here. So that is how we represent a set in function. So next, we also have its basic kind of function. Is here we have is input to output. So simply, you could look at this example here. 1 equals A, 2 equals B, C, 3 equals C. This is a casual kind of function. And we could easily understand 1, 2, 3 here as the input. And output here is A, B, and C. So output is usually the answer or the basic answer to that whole input here, which is the whole operating part. So we usually call input these 1, 2, 3, etc. to be called as the domain. And the output could be sometimes called as range. So let's look at some forms of functions. First, we have our casual form, which is the one that's basically most used in our real life. We have here is y equals to x. So let's understand this a little bit. So y here is basically the output of this whole function. And so the output here is the answers to 2x. 2x here is the input, which is the reason why we got this output. And so basically, you may see this as confusing because this is a pretty hard way or like a more advanced way to consider making up of function. Since usually there could be a lot easier forms to show out function. I will tell you later about that. But here you can see that y here is the output. 2x is input. And so let's imagine if we have x here as 1. If we have x here as 1, then it basically means 2 times 1 or 2 times x. That x is 1 equals y. And so in this situation, y here equals 2. Really easy, right? Also, the same thing happens. If x in this function here is like 3, let's make it just basic. If x here is 3, then our output could basically means is 2 times 3. And so we have our output is 6. Basic, right? And so I hope that you already get the hang of it. It's actually really easy. Also, probably you have once seen a function like this. So is this appropriate or not to be called as a function? So let's look at it. So here our function is basically y squared equals x. And so if you consider and calculate this function, and you can see that there comes up with two solutions. First, we have is, so if you want to calculate this whole function here, you're going to use this, y equals this. So look at it. If we have x here as the input to be like 2, okay, then so we could come up with both kind of solution. We could get 2 if we choose the positive side. But if we choose the negative side, then we would got this instead of 2. And so then you can see that we got 2 solutions. And this whole part here is not called as function, because you must know that function, an appropriate function cannot have 2 solutions. It could only have just one output, and that's all. You can't come with 2 solutions for one. So imagine, let's have an example. So here, let me draw up a table of both the output and input. So I could write organized so that it will be easier. Okay, and so output and input. Alright, so our input, let me see. Our input is usually here. Our output is here. So if we have our input is 2, and we have the function such as y equals 3x. And so here, if our x, or simply the input here is 2, then we will have 3 times 2 equals 6. Basically like that. You could see that no matter what numbers you put into this input, you will still get just one single solutions. And if you got any more than 2 solutions, then you can understand that yours is not a function. So we also have graphs. Graph is usually seen more in function, and it could be a very, very easier way to show numbers. It can be pretty hard to understand, but if you actually get the basic of it and knows it on the back of your hand, then I know that it's going to be super, super easy for you to use it. It could usually be demonstrated as a line in a graph like this. Basically, and so usually if you want to show something out, then you will have a basic line here that shows. So let's see, we have an example of t, or as a tax. When you're buying something, you have t as a tax, and equals 0, 0, and 600 of x, or the price of that product. Then you can't know how much x could be here. And if you want a way to represent this function here, graphing will be the best way. Graphing will be the best way, because if you graph it out down, then no matter what input here we have, it will still comes up to a nice tax number or a nice output. And so let's look at its application in real life. So application to functions are uncountable. There's just so many ways. Let's look at its application in business first. First, we can use it to predict investment. If you have ever tried to invest into something and you want to predict how much money you can get from that investment, function will be the best way for you to graph that out and easily calculate. Next, you could use it to calculate profit. calculate profit is something so important. You could use it when you're buying or charging or like basically funding something. You could easily calculate how much profit or how much advantages could you get from it, which is something very important. You could also use it in math in problems like in algebra, which is something so helpful. When you are using function in daily life, you could basically use it to calculate like maybe when you're planting some trees, you could use it to calculate how long can that tree grow to which stages, or you could basically use function here to calculate the the distance or like the time or the speed when you're going to somewhere. So it could be something very useful in both not just mathematics but also in daily life. And so I really hope that after this talk, both of us have got the hint of what function is. So thank you so much for listening and goodbye. See you next time.